The cargo ship Starlight Runner moved slowly through the dark space between two star systems. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the stars pass by on the main screen. His ship was not fast or pretty, but it was reliable. For 3 years, he had been running supplies between the human colonies, and nothing bad had ever happened to them. Danny Walsh stood in the ship's kitchen, cutting vegetables for the evening meal. He was a big man with strong hands and a calm face. The other crew members liked him because he always made good food, even when they only had basic supplies. Danny had been the cook on the Starlight Runner for 2 years, and he never complained about anything. The ship carried 12 people in total. Besides Jake and Danny, there was Lisa Chun, who flew the ship, Bobby Martinez, who fixed the engines, Katie Sullivan, who took care of sick people, and 7 others who handled the cargo. They were all friends, and they worked well together. Danny finished cutting the vegetables and started cooking them in a large pan. The smell filled the kitchen and drifted out into the hallways. Some of the crew walked past the kitchen door and smiled when they smelled the food. They knew dinner would be good tonight. "Danny, that smells great," said Lisa as she walked past. She was heading to the bridge to check their course. "Thanks," Danny said without looking up from his cooking. "It will be ready in an hour." Jake was reading reports on his computer when the ship's alarm started making loud noises. Red lights flashed on the bridge, and the main screen showed 3 dark ships coming toward them fast. Jake's stomach dropped when he saw the ships. They were pirate vessels, and they were already too close to escape. "Lisa, get down here now," Jake called over the ship's communication system. "We have pirates." Lisa ran to the bridge and jumped into her pilot's seat. She looked at the screen and saw the enemy ships. "They are too close," she said. "I cannot get us away in time." "Try anyway," Jake said. Lisa pushed buttons and moved controls, but the pirate ships were faster. They fired blue energy beams at the Starlight Runner. The beams hit the engine room, and the ship started shaking. Sparks flew from the control panels, and the lights went out for a few seconds. "Engines are dead," Bobby's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. "They hit us perfectly. We cannot move." Jake knew they were in trouble. Pirates did not usually kill everyone right away. They took people and ships to sell them. But being captured by pirates was still very dangerous. The 3 pirate ships came closer. They were black and had sharp points on them. One of them attached itself to the side of the Starlight Runner with a loud bang. Jake could hear metal cutting through metal as the pirates made a hole in their ship. "All crew to the cargo hold," Jake said over the communication system. "Do not fight them. Just do what they say." Danny heard the captain's words while he was still in the kitchen. He turned off the stove and put down his knife. The food was only half cooked, but no one would be eating dinner now. He walked calmly toward the cargo hold. Just like the other crew members, the pirates came through the hole they had made. They were tall and looked like lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was green and covered with hard scales. They had long claws and sharp teeth. Their eyes were yellow and cold. The leader of the pirates was bigger than the others. He had red marks on his scales and wore metal armor. He looked around the ship with his yellow eyes and made a hissing sound that might have been laughter. "Humans," he said in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together, "weak and soft. You will bring good money at the slave markets." Jake and his crew were already in the cargo hold when the pirates found them. The lizard creatures pointed their weapons at the humans and forced them to sit on the floor. The leader came into the cargo hold and looked at each person. "I am Commander Vexthal," the big lizard said. "You belong to me now? If you do what I say, you will live long enough to be sold. If you do not, I will kill you." Danny sat quietly with the others. He watched the pirates with calm eyes, but he did not say anything. Vexthal walked around the group of humans, studying them like he was deciding which ones were worth keeping. "What do you do on this ship?" Vexthal asked Jake. "I am the captain," Jake said. "And you?" Vexthal pointed at Lisa. "I fly the ship," she said. Vexthal continued asking each person what their job was. When he got to Danny, he stopped and sniffed the air. His long tongue came out and tasted the air around Danny. "This one smells like food," Vexthel said. "Are you a cook?" "Yes," Danny said simply. The other pirates started making clicking sounds that seemed to be laughter. Vexthel's mouth opened to show his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "A cook," Vexthel said. "How useless. What kind of weak species wastes space on a ship for someone who just makes food? Any intelligent race uses food machines." The pirates laughed more. They thought it was funny that humans needed someone to cook for them. In their culture, eating was just about getting energy into the body as fast as possible. "This one will bring the lowest price," one of the other pirates sighed. "Who wants to buy a creature that only knows how to mix ingredients?" Danny said nothing. He just sat there with his hands folded in his lap. The pirates looked at him and saw a soft human who spent his days cutting vegetables and stirring pots. They saw someone who had never fought or killed. They saw someone who was completely harmless. They were wrong about Danny Walsh, but they would not learn that for a while. For now, they just saw a cook and they laughed at him. Danny let them laugh. He had learned long ago that it was sometimes better to let people think you were weak. It could be useful later. The pirates finished counting their prisoners and started making plans. They would take the humans to their main ship and then to the slave markets. The Starlight Runner would be stripped of anything valuable and then destroyed. Danny continued to sit quietly while the pirates talked. He looked like he was scared, but inside his mind, he was thinking about other things. He was remembering skills he had not used in years. He was remembering lessons he had hoped never to use again. But sometimes the past comes back whether you want it to or not. The pirates locked the human crew in the cargo hold while they searched the rest of the ship. Danny could hear them moving through the hallways, breaking things and taking whatever they wanted. The sound of metal hitting metal echoed through the ship as the aliens destroyed equipment they could not use. Commander Vexthel came back to the cargo hold after 2 hours. He looked pleased with what his crew had found. The Starlight Runner was an old ship, but it had some valuable parts that could be sold. "Your ship is worth more than I thought," Vexthel told Jake. "The navigation computer alone will bring good money. And your medical supplies are high quality." Jake said nothing. He knew that arguing with pirates would only make things worse for his crew. But he watched Vexthel carefully, looking for any chance to escape or fight back. Vexthel walked over to where Danny was sitting. The big lizard looked down at the cook with his yellow eyes. "You are very quiet, food maker. Are you afraid?" "Yes," Danny said simply. This made Vexthel laugh. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. "Good, fear will keep you alive longer. Fear makes slaves work harder." 2 other pirates came into the cargo hold. They were carrying boxes of supplies they had taken from the ship. One of them, a smaller lizard with blue markings, spoke to Vexthel in their own language. It sounded like hissing and clicking. "My lieutenant says they found your kitchen," Vexthel said to Danny. "He says you have many sharp knives and cooking tools. Such a waste of metal. These tools could be made into weapons, but instead you use them to cut plants." Danny looked up at the commander. "Food is important to humans. We need good meals to stay healthy." The pirates made their clicking laughter again. They found human customs very strange and primitive. In their society, warriors ate nutrition paste that gave them energy and strength. Spending time on taste and enjoyment was seen as weak. "Healthy," Vexthel repeated. "Look how healthy you are." He grabbed Danny's arm and felt the muscle there. "Soft and weak, your species is pathetic." Danny did not pull away. He let the pirate feel his arm and make jokes about human weakness. The other crew members watched nervously. They had never seen Danny angry or violent, but they worried about what might happen if the pirates pushed too hard. Katie Sullivan, the medical officer, spoke up. "Please, we are just cargo haulers. We have never hurt anyone." "There is no need to be cruel." Vexthel turned to look at her. "Cruel? This is not cruel. This is business. You will be sold to buyers who need workers. If you work hard and do not cause trouble, you will live for many years." "And if we do cause trouble?" Lisa asked. Then you will die, Vexthel said simply, but not quickly. The commander walked back to Danny and nudged him with his foot. Stand up, Cook. I want to see how weak you really are. Danny stood up slowly. He was shorter than the alien commander, but he was still a big man. Vexthel was at least 7 feet tall with long arms and sharp claws. His scales looked as hard as armor. Show me your hands, Vexthel ordered. Danny held out his hands, palms up. The pirate grabbed them and turned them over, studying the fingers and palms. Danny's hands were clean and smooth, with small scars from years of kitchen work. These hands have never held a weapon, Vexthel said to his crew. They've only touched vegetables in cooking pots. This creature could not hurt a child. The other pirates clicked their approval. They enjoyed seeing the commander humiliate the humans. It made them feel superior and powerful. Tell me, Cook, Vexthel said, what is the most dangerous thing you have ever done? Danny thought for a moment. I once had to kill a chicken for dinner when the food processor was broken. The pirates laughed so hard that some of them had to hold their sides. The idea of a human being proud of killing a small farm animal was hilarious to them. They were warriors who had fought in space battles and conquered entire planets. A chicken, Vexthel repeated. The great human warrior killed a chicken. He turned to his crew. And they wonder why their species is so easy to capture. Bobby Martinez, the ship's engineer, looked angry. Danny is a good man. He takes care of us. That is worth more than fighting. Taking care? Vexthel said. Yes, that is what humans do. You take care of each other instead of making yourselves strong. That is why you are slaves now, and we are the masters. Danny listened to all of this without changing his expression. He looked like a man who was scared and trying not to show it. The pirates saw exactly what they expected to see, a soft human who had never faced real danger. I think, Vexthel said, we should have some entertainment before we sell you. My crew has been working hard today. They deserve some fun. The commander called his lieutenant over and spoke to him in their language. The smaller alien nodded and left the cargo hold. He came back a few minutes later with several other pirates. We are going to play a game, Vexthel announced. Each of you will show us what you can do. The pilot will try to fly. The engineer will try to fix something. The doctor will try to heal. And the cook will try to cook. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. What kind of game? A game to see how useless humans really are, Vexthel said. We will give you broken tools and impossible tasks. When you fail, everyone will see how weak your species is. The pirates dragged the humans out of the cargo hold and into the main corridor. They had set up a crude arena in the center of the ship. The aliens stood in a circle around the space, their weapons ready. You first, Vexthel pointed at Lisa. Try to fly our ship with this. He handed her a broken control stick that sparked when she touched it. Lisa tried to use the device, but it was completely broken. She could not make it work no matter what she did. The pirates laughed and pointed at her efforts. Useless, Vexthel said, just as I thought. He made Bobby try to fix a piece of equipment that had been deliberately damaged beyond repair. The engineer worked on it for several minutes, but there was nothing he could do. The pirates enjoyed watching him fail. Katie was given medical supplies that were empty or spoiled. She could not help a wounded pirate, even though she knew exactly what to do. The aliens found this very amusing. Finally, it was Danny's turn. The pirates had collected a pile of old kitchen tools from the ship. Most of them were rusted or broken. They dumped the tools in front of Danny and stepped back. Show us your great cooking skills, Vexthel said. Make us a meal that will impress us. Danny looked down at the pile of broken tools. There were dull knives, bent spoons, and pots with holes in them. The pirates had made sure that nothing would work properly. These tools are in poor condition, Danny said. Then you will fail, Vexthel replied. Just like the others. Danny knelt down and started looking through the pile of tools. He picked up each piece and examined it carefully. The pirates watched him with amusement. They were sure he would give up quickly, but Danny did not give up. He selected a few of the least damaged tools and set them aside. He found a knife that was rusty but still had some edge to it. He found a pot that only had small holes. He found a spoon that was bent but could still be used. "These will do," Danny said quietly. The pirates looked at each other. They had expected the human to cry or beg. Instead, he was calmly preparing to work with the broken tools. "You cannot cook anything with that garbage," one of the pirates said. Danny looked up at the alien. "I have worked with worse." For the first time, Vexthel felt a small doubt. There was something in the human's voice that he had not heard before, something that did not sound like fear. Danny picked up the rusty knife and held it in his right hand. He tested the weight and balance, moving it slowly through the air. The blade was dull and covered with spots of rust, but it was still metal. It could still cut if used properly. The pirates watched him with growing interest. They had expected the human to complain about the poor quality of the tools. Instead, he was studying the knife like it was a precious weapon. "The edge is damaged," Danny said, running his thumb along the blade. "But the metal is still good?" "The balance point is wrong, but I can work with it." Vexthel stepped closer. "You talk about that piece of junk like it matters. It is just a broken tool." "Every tool matters," Danny replied. "Even broken ones can be useful if you know how to use them." The cook picked up the bent spoon and the damaged pot. He arranged them in front of him like a surgeon preparing for an operation. His movements were careful and precise. "What are you going to cook for us?" one of the pirates asked. "We do not have any food for you to use." Danny looked around the corridor. There were some emergency food supplies in a wall compartment. The pirates had not bothered to take them because they looked like simple nutrition bars, but Danny saw possibilities. "I can work with what is here," he said. The pirates laughed. The nutrition bars were meant to keep people alive in emergencies. They had no taste and the texture was like eating cardboard. No one could make a real meal from such basic ingredients. Danny opened the wall compartment and took out several of the nutrition bars. He also found some water packets and a small container of salt. It was not much, but it was enough for what he had in mind. "You cannot make anything good from that," Vexthel said. "Those bars are barely food at all." "Food is food," Danny replied. "It just needs to be prepared properly." He began working with the rusty knife. First, he scraped the worst of the rust off the blade using the metal edge of the broken pot. The scraping made a harsh sound that echoed through the corridor. The pirates watched in fascination as the human slowly cleaned the old tool. "What are you doing?" the lieutenant asked. "Making it sharp," Danny said without looking up. "A dull blade is dangerous. It can slip and cut the wrong thing." The pirates found this amusing. They thought the human was worried about cutting himself while preparing food. They had no idea what Danny really meant. After several minutes of work, the knife was cleaner and somewhat sharper. Danny tested it by cutting a small piece from one of the nutrition bars. The blade went through the tough material smoothly. "Better," Danny said to himself. He began cutting the nutrition bars into small pieces. His movements were quick and precise. The knife moved through the food like it was cutting through soft butter. The pirates stopped laughing and started watching more carefully. "He is fast with that knife," one of them whispered to another. Danny heard the comment but did not react. He continued cutting, turning the boring nutrition bars into small, even pieces. Then he started crushing some of the pieces with the bent spoon, creating a powder. "What is he making?" Vexthel asked his crew. "I do not know," the lieutenant replied. "But he works like he has done this many times before." Danny mixed the powder with water to create a paste. He used the damaged pot to heat the mixture over a small emergency heating unit. The paste began to smell better as it warmed up. "It actually smells like food," one of the pirates said, surprised. Danny added the salt and mixed everything together. He worked quickly and efficiently, like a machine that had been designed for this one purpose. The pirates had never seen a human work with such focus and skill. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" Vexthel asked. "Practice," Danny replied. "I have cooked in many different places with many different tools. You learn to work with what you have." The mixture in the pot was starting to thicken. Danny tasted it with the bent spoon and nodded. It was not gourmet food, but it was much better than eating the nutrition bars plain. I have seen enough, Vexthel declared. This is still just a human making food, nothing impressive. But the other pirates were not so sure. They had watched the cook work, and there was something about his movements that bothered them. He handled the knife too well. He moved too smoothly. He seemed too comfortable with the tools. "Commander," the lieutenant said quietly, "something is strange about this human." "What do you mean?" Vexthel asked. "Look at his hands. Look at how he holds the knife." "That is not how a cook holds a tool." Vexthel looked more carefully at Danny. The human was still working with the food, but now the commander could see what his lieutenant meant. Danny held the knife like a weapon, not like a cooking tool. His grip was firm and controlled. His stance was balanced and ready. "You," Vexthel said to Danny, "look at me." Danny looked up from his work. His eyes were calm and steady. There was no fear in them anymore. "How long have you been a cook?" Vexthel asked. 2 years on this ship," Danny replied. "But I have been cooking for longer than that." "What did you do before you were a cook?" Danny set down the knife and stood up. For the first time since the pirates had captured them, he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "I was a soldier," Danny said. The pirates went silent. They looked at the human with new eyes. Suddenly, his calm behavior made sense. Suddenly, his skill with the knife made sense. Suddenly, the way he had accepted their insults without getting angry made sense. What kind of soldier? Vexthel asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. "The kind that fights up close," Danny replied. "The kind that uses knives." The commander felt something he had not felt in years, fear. This human was not what he had seemed. This human was dangerous. "You are lying," Vexthel said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "Am I?" Danny asked. He picked up the knife. "Again, would you like me to show you what else I learned in the military?" The pirates started reaching for their weapons. They were no longer laughing. The entertainment had suddenly become something else entirely. "I thought you were a cook," one of them said. "I am a cook," Danny replied. "But cooking is not the only thing I know how to do." He held the knife in a way that made it clear he was ready to use it. The pirates could see that this was not a kitchen tool in his hands anymore. It was a weapon. "You see," Danny continued, "the military taught me many things. They taught me how to fight. They taught me how to kill. They taught me how to survive when people wanted to hurt me." The pirates began to spread out, surrounding Danny, but the human did not look worried. If anything, he looked more relaxed than he had all day. "But most importantly," Danny said, "they taught me that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your enemy think you are weak." Vexthel realized they had made a terrible mistake. This human had been pretending to be harmless. He had let them capture him and insult him because he was waiting for the right moment to strike back. "Kill him," Vexthel ordered his crew. "I would not do that if I were you," Danny said calmly. "You see, I know exactly how many of you there are. I know where you are standing. I know which ones are the biggest threat." The pirates hesitated. There was something in the human's voice that made them want to be very careful. "And I know," Danny continued, "that you have never fought anyone like me before." The corridor became very quiet. 8 pirates stood in a circle around Danny, their weapons pointed at him. The human cook stood in the center, holding nothing but a rusty knife. To anyone watching, it should have been obvious who would win this fight. But the pirates were no longer certain. Something had changed in the human's posture and voice. The scared cook was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. "You are 1 human against 8 of us," Vexthel said. "Even if you were a soldier, you cannot win." Danny looked around the circle of aliens. 8, he repeated. "That is a good number." "Not too many, not too few? What do you mean?" The lieutenant asked. "I mean," Danny said, "that 8 is exactly the right number for what I need to do." Before anyone could react, Danny moved. He threw himself to the right toward the smallest of the pirates. The alien tried to bring his weapon up, but Danny was already inside his guard. The rusty knife went between the alien's ribs with surgical precision. The wounded pirate screamed and fell backward. Danny rolled away from the falling body and came up behind another alien. This one was bigger and stronger, but Danny knew exactly where to strike. The knife found the soft spot at the base of the alien's neck. Impossible, Vexthel breathed. Danny did not stop moving. He flowed from one target to the next like water finding the easiest path downhill. Every movement was efficient and deadly. The knife seemed to know exactly where to go. The third pirate managed to fire his weapon, but Danny was already somewhere else. The energy blast hit the wall where the human had been standing a moment before. Danny appeared beside the shooter and struck with the knife. The alien's weapon clattered to the floor. "How is he doing this?" one of the remaining pirates asked. "He is just one human," another replied, but his voice was shaking. Danny paused for a moment and looked at the 5 pirates who were still standing. "You want to know how I am doing this? I will tell you." He held up the knife. "This is not a cooking tool anymore. This is a weapon. And I have been using weapons like this for 8 years. 8 years? Vexthel repeated. 8 years in the Colonial Marine Corps, Danny said. Close quarters combat specialist. I fought in the Titan Wars, the Asteroid Belt campaign, and the Siege of Europa Station. The pirates looked at each other. They had heard of these battles. They were famous throughout the galaxy for their brutality. You were at Europa Station? The lieutenant asked. I was there when the rebels tried to take the station, Danny replied. They sent 1,000 soldiers through the maintenance tunnels. My squad was ordered to stop them. How many were in your squad? Vexthel asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. 6, Danny said. We held them off for 3 hours until reinforcements arrived. The pirates began to understand what they were facing. Europa Station was a legend among warriors. Everyone knew that a small group of humans had held off a much larger force in close combat, but no one knew the details. The rebels had better weapons than us, Danny continued. They had better armor, they had more soldiers, but they did not have better training. He took a step toward the nearest pirate. You see, the Marines taught me something very important. They taught me that in close combat, the weapon does not matter as much as the person using it. The pirate backed away. Stay back, human. A knife, Danny said, is just a piece of metal. But in the right hands, it can be more deadly than any energy weapon. He demonstrated by spinning the rusty blade through his fingers. The movement was so fast and smooth that the pirates could barely follow it. The Marines also taught me about anatomy, Danny continued. They taught me exactly where to cut to disable an enemy quickly. They taught me which wounds will kill and which will only hurt. One of the pirates tried to rush him from behind. Danny heard the footsteps and turned just in time. The knife flashed out and the attacking alien stumbled backward, clutching his arm. For example, Danny said calmly, that cut severed the tendons in his wrist. He will not be able to hold a weapon for several weeks. The wounded pirate looked at his arm in horror. Danny was right. His hand would not close properly anymore. But this, Danny said, moving toward another pirate, this will be much worse. The alien tried to run, but Danny was faster. The knife struck twice, once in each leg. The pirate fell to the floor, unable to stand. Those cuts damage the muscles he needs to walk, Danny explained. He will live, but he will never walk properly again. Stop, Vexthel shouted. Stop. This madness. Danny paused and looked at the commander. Madness? This is not madness. This is just work. Work? Vexthel asked. Yes, Danny replied. This is what I was trained to do. This is what I did for 8 years before I became a cook. He looked around at the remaining pirates. 3 of them were still standing, but they were all backing away from him. You see, Danny said, I did not become a cook because I was weak. I became a cook because I was tired of killing people. Then why are you doing this? The lieutenant asked. Because, Danny said, sometimes the past does not let you go. Sometimes you have to use old skills to protect new friends. He nodded toward his crewmates who were still standing against the wall. They were watching the fight with amazement and fear. These people are my family now, Danny continued. They gave me a new life when I thought I was done with violence. They let me cook for them and take care of them. They let me be something other than a killer. Vexthal saw the look in the human's eyes. It was the look of a predator protecting its territory. But if you threaten my family, Danny said, then I will become what I used to be. I will become a weapon. The commander looked around at his crew. Half of them were on the floor, wounded or dead. The others were terrified. This was not how the day was supposed to go. You cannot defeat all of us, Vexthal said, but he did not sound convinced. Cannot? Danny asked. Commander, I have already defeated most of you, and I have not even started trying yet. He held up the knife again. This is a rusty piece of metal that your crew gave me as a joke. Imagine what I could do with a proper weapon. The pirates looked at their commander, waiting for orders. But Vexthal was beginning to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. They had captured a ship full of humans, thinking they were weak and helpless. But one of those humans was a trained killer who had been pretending to be harmless. What do you want? Vexthal asked. I want you to let my people go, Danny replied. I want you to repair our ship. I want you to leave us alone. And if we refuse? Danny smiled again. It was still not a friendly smile. Then I will show you what else the Marines taught me. Commander Vexthal looked around the corridor at his defeated crew. 3 pirates lay motionless on the floor. 2 more were wounded and groaning in pain. The remaining 3 stood against the walls, afraid to move. Danny Walsh, the human cook, stood in the center of the destruction. His clothes were torn and stained with alien blood, but he was not even breathing hard. The rusty knife in his hand dripped green liquid onto the metal floor. This is impossible, Vexthal whispered. You are just one human. No, Danny replied. I am not just one human. I am the human you should have left alone. Jake Morrison and the other crew members watched in stunned silence. They had worked with Danny for 2 years. They had eaten his food, talked with him, shared stories with him. They thought they knew him completely. They had been wrong. Danny, Lisa Chun said. Quietly, how did you do that? Danny looked at his crewmates. His expression softened when he saw their faces. I told you, I used to be a soldier. But you never said you were a killer, Bobby Martinez said. I hoped I would never have to be one again, Danny replied. I came to space to get away from that life. I wanted to do something peaceful. I wanted to help people instead of hurt them. He looked down at the knife in his hand. But sometimes the galaxy does not let you choose who you want to be. Vexthal was trying to understand what had happened. His crew had captured a cargo ship full of weak humans. It should have been simple. But somehow, one of those humans had turned into a nightmare. You were pretending, Vexthal said. All this time, you were pretending to be harmless. I was not pretending, Danny replied. I really am a cook. I really do enjoy making food for people. I really do want to live in peace. He stepped closer to the alien commander, but I am also a weapon. The Marines made sure of that. They trained me to kill with anything I could find. They taught me to turn common objects into tools of death. Danny held up the rusty knife. This piece of junk became deadly because I knew how to use it. A spoon could be just as dangerous. A fork, a plate. Anything can be a weapon if you know what you are doing. The pirates who were still standing pressed themselves against the walls. They were beginning to understand that they had not captured a ship full of prey. They had trapped themselves with a predator. What do you want from us? Vexthal asked again. I already told you, Danny said. Fix our engines. Let us go. Forget you ever saw us. And if we do this, you will let us live? Danny considered the question. That depends on what you do next. If you keep your word and leave us alone, then yes. You can live, and if we do not keep our word, then I will hunt you down, Danny said simply. I will find your ship, I will find your base, I will find everyone who works with you. And I will make sure they understand that humans are not as weak as they look. Vexthal felt a chill run down his spine. The human was not making threats. He was making promises. You cannot fight an entire pirate clan, the commander said. Cannot? Danny asked. Commander, do you know what happened at the Battle of Ceres? Vexthal nodded. Every pirate in the galaxy knew about Ceres, a single human ship had destroyed an entire pirate fleet. That ship had a crew of 20 humans, Danny continued. 20 humans against 200 pirates. The humans won. That was different, Vexel protested. They had weapons. They had armor. They had training, Danny corrected. The same training I have. The same willingness to do whatever it takes to protect what matters to them. Danny walked over to where Captain Morrison was standing. Jake, are you all right? I am fine, Jake replied. But Danny, I had no idea you could do this. I hoped you would never have to see it, Danny said. I came to your ship because I wanted a quiet life. I wanted to cook and take care of people. I wanted to forget about the war. Katie Sullivan stepped forward. You saved us, all of us? That is what family does, Danny replied. We take care of each other. He turned back to Vexthal. So, Commander, what is your decision? Will you fix our ship and let us go, or do I need to continue this conversation? Vexthal looked at his wounded crew. He looked at the human who had defeated them so easily. He thought about his options. We'll fix your ship, he said finally. Good, Danny replied. And Commander, I want you to remember something. Tell your clan about what happened here today. Tell them that humans are not easy prey. Tell them to find other targets. I will remember, Vexthal promised. Make sure you do, Danny said. Because if I hear about your clan attacking human ships again, I will come looking for you. The next few hours passed quietly. The pirates worked to repair the Starlight Runner's engines while Danny watched them carefully. His crewmates stayed close to him, still amazed by what they had seen. Danny, Lisa asked, why did you never tell us about your past? Because it was not important, Danny replied. That person I used to be, that killer, he was someone I wanted to forget. I thought I had left him behind. But you had not, Bobby observed. No, Danny admitted. You cannot really leave that part of yourself behind. You can only choose not to use it, and today you chose to use it, Katie said. Today I had no choice, Danny replied. When someone threatens my family, I will do whatever it takes to protect them. When the repairs were finished, Vexthal approached Danny one last time. Your engines are working. You can leave whenever you want. Thank you, Danny said. Human, Vexthal said. I have a question. What is it? If you are so dangerous, why? Do you choose to be a cook? Danny thought about the question for a long moment. Because killing is easy. Anyone can destroy things. But creating something good, something that makes people happy, that is much harder. You think cooking is more difficult than fighting? I think, Danny said, that it takes more strength to feed someone than to kill them. It takes more courage to help than to hurt. Vexthal did not understand, but he nodded anyway. We will leave now. You will not see us again. I hope not, Danny replied, for your sake. The pirates returned to their ship and detached from the Starlight Runner. Within minutes, they were gone, disappearing into the darkness of space. Captain Morrison called his crew to the bridge. All right, everyone. Let us get out of here before they change their minds. As the ship began moving again, the crew gathered in the common area. They all looked at Danny with new eyes. So, Jake said, I guess we need to talk about what happened. What is there to talk about? Danny asked. We were attacked. I defended us. Now we are safe. Danny, Lisa said, you killed 3 people today. I killed 3 pirates who were going to sell us into slavery, Danny corrected. I did what I had to do. Does it bother you? Katie asked. Danny was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he said finally. It always bothers me. But protecting my family bothers me less than losing them would. Bobby clapped Danny on the shoulder. Well, I am glad you were here. So am I, Jake agreed. But Danny, no more secrets. If there is anything else we should know about you, tell us now. Danny smiled. This time it was a real smile, warm and friendly. There's nothing else. I used to be a soldier. Now I am a cook. That is all there is to know? Good, Jake said. Now, is there any chance we could get some dinner? All this excitement has made me hungry, Danny laughed. I think I can manage that. Though the food I was making earlier is probably ruined by now. That is all right, Lisa said. We have time, we have food, and we have the best cook in the galaxy. Denny went back to his kitchen and started preparing a new meal. As he worked, he felt the tension leaving his body. The knife in his hands was just a cooking tool again. The violence was over and he could go back to being the person he wanted to be, but deep in his mind, the soldier was still there, watching and waiting. Because sometimes in a dangerous galaxy, even a cook needs to know how to fight. And sometimes the best way to keep the peace is to be ready for war.